Okay, so you poured your heart and soul into an academic rebuttal, only to get that rejection email anyway? Sound familiar? Well, you're in the right place. We're going to break down the hidden strategy that can actually turn that rejection into an acceptance.
All right, let's jump right in with something that sounds, well, completely backwards. That super serious, incredibly thorough rebuttal you spent weeks perfecting, it might be the very thing that's sinking your paper. And it all comes down to a huge misunderstanding of what a rebuttal is even for. See, most of us think of a rebuttal as a debate. Our job is to go in there and prove the reviewers wrong point by point. But that's the myth. The reality is, your goal isn't to win an argument. It's to convince the editor that all those flaws they pointed out are, in fact, fixable. It's not a fight. It's a repair plan. So, if you're not supposed to fight every single battle, then what is a rebuttal's real job? Well, as you're about to see, it's something way more strategic. It's all about being a decision amplifier.
Let's be real for a second. A rebuttal isn't a magic wand. It's not going to save a paper with deep fundamental problems. But for a paper that's kind of teetering on the edge, what we call an edge case paper, that's where your rebuttal becomes this incredibly powerful tool. It amplifies the editor's decision, and it can tip the scales from a no to a yes.
And this chart just lays it out perfectly. Look, if your paper is clearly weak, a rebuttal won't do much. If it's an absolute rockstar paper, it'll probably get in anyway. The impact is low in both cases. But you see that big bar in the middle? For that edge case paper, that's where a smart rebuttal has a huge impact. It can literally be the one thing that decides its fate. So how do you focus your energy on that sweet spot? This is where we get to the core strategy. You have to stop answering comments one by one in the order they were written. Instead, you need to think like an ER doctor. You have to triage, and we're going to use the 4-quadrant method.
This is your framework. It looks a little intense, but it's actually super simple. You're going to take every single comment, and I mean every single one, and sort it into one of these 4 boxes based on just 2 questions. 1, how likely is this to get my paper rejected? That's the risk. And 2, how hard is this going to be to fix? That's the effort. And where you spend your energy is absolutely critical. Just look at this breakdown. A massive 60% of your time needs to go into quadrant 1, the high-risk issues that are actually fixable. Honestly, this is where the entire battle is won or lost. So here's your playbook. You hit quadrant 1 first, and with everything you've got, that's how you win. For the high-risk, hard-to-fix stuff in quadrant 2, you don't argue. You shrink your claims to match the evidence you already have. For all the little things in quadrant 3, you just batch them together and knock them out. And for those big, out-of-scope ideas in quadrant 4, you politely defer them to future work.
Okay, so you've got your strategy. You've triaged all the comments. Now let's talk about the tactical part, the actual writing. How do you do it in a way that doesn't just check boxes, but actually builds trust with the editor? For almost all of your fixable comments, you're going to use this simple but powerful 3-step structure. 1, thank them and acknowledge the concern. 2, state exactly what you did to fix it. And 3, tell them precisely where to find the change. Page number, figure number, whatever. It shows you're organized, you're responsive, and you respect their time. But we've all gotten that one comment, right? The one that asks for a huge new experiment that you just don't have the time or money to run. It feels like a dead end, but you can't just ignore it. So instead of a physical experiment, you run a text-based experiment. And this is the pivot. It's such a smart move. You can't magically produce 6 months of new data, but what you can always do is strategically change your text to match the data you have. So you downgrade your claim from being the best method to being an effective alternative. See what just happened? You transformed a potentially fatal flaw into a reasonable, well-defined limitation. That's a game changer.
All right, let's pull back the curtain for our final and maybe most important point. When all is said and done, what is the editor really looking for in your rebuttal? What's the real question they're asking? First things first, they are not asking, is this paper flawless? They know it isn't. No paper is. And if you try to pretend yours is, you just come off as naive or, even worse, defensive. This is it. This is the single most important question your rebuttal has to answer. The editor is making a judgment call, not just on your paper, but on you. Can they trust you as a researcher? Are you a reliable partner they can work with to get this thing published? And that's really the whole thing in a nutshell. A winning rebuttal isn't a perfect defense. It's a demonstration of your corrective ability, your skill at listening to feedback, diagnosing problems, and actually implementing solutions. In the end, you're not just fixing a paper, you're proving that you can be trusted.
So there you go, a strategic way to build a rebuttal that actually works. And since we've all been there, I'd love to hear from you. What's the most challenging piece of reviewer feedback you've ever had to deal with? Share your story in the comments below. Let's learn from each other.